Hey, here's a funny story from Mickey D's. One time, so I was working in the drive-thru, and now our store was fairly close to a residential area near the beach, and because it was close to a residential area, you were, by ordinance, you were not allowed to have a speaker in your drive-thru because of how close you were. So instead, we had it where people would look at the menu out there, then they would drive up to the first window, I would take your order, then I would take your money, then you would drive to the last window and get your food. And the restaurant was also elongated, so I was like in the back of the restaurant, literally in the middle of the storeroom when I was at that first window taking orders. And so I'm back there. I am literally 5 minutes from being off. And yeah, now you could sit down, but I like to stand a lot back there. So I would stand there and I'd take people's orders. So I'm standing there, I'm taking this guy's order, right? I'm kind of like turned at an angle away from him, you know, to face the screen so I can punch in his order. He's just kind of droning on about what he'd like to order and stuff. And while I am mid-sentence responding, like asking him a question, like what type of drink he wanted or whatever, a fucking bird flies in the window and literally smacks me straight in the chest, glancing off, flying back past me into the storeroom. And the bird hit me with enough force to actually, like, change the angle of my torso, like make me kind of like turn to the side.
Oh wow.
And
was it a pelican or?
No, it was a fairly small bird. But the thing is, this bird hit me, and I stopped talking because of the shock. You know, I'm like, holy, what the fuck? And I like turned to look back, like, where the fuck did that bird go, right? And then I look back at this guy. I'm staring at him. He's staring at me. His expression is just complete boredom. He didn't fucking notice the bird fly in the window and slam into me and fucking ricochet off into the storeroom. He didn't fucking notice. And after a couple moments of awkward silence, I was just like, okay then, and I continued taking his order. There was this one guy who would always come in the morning and he'd get the big breakfast, right? Which comes with, now, you know what the McDonald's sausage patties are like?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's like it's kind of like a hockey puck size sausage patty, you know, same general shape as well. Anyways, this guy, he would always come through, and pretty much every time he would be on the phone about business stuff, and he would always pay in quarters, and he would also always specify, he'd say, okay, I want you to make the sausage patty super well done. Like, I want it to be shriveled up to like the size of a nickel. I want you to burn the fucker.
But he's just like a regular customer.
Yeah, he was just like a regular customer.
Oh my god. He's just a regular occurrence. Oh.
Yeah, he would come in every other day or so in the morning. Jeez. I mean, okay, this is a story from Dan, my roommate, who worked at a grocery store, right? And he said that one day it was in a really small town, and they just went to the back of the grocery store. There's some guys standing there in front of the produce, just fucking beating it.
Wearing sweatpants, and nobody caught him. We caught him on the security cameras after he had long gone. So reviewing the security cameras, and there's just this guy in pajama pants standing in front of the produce.
Just fucking beating it. Oh god.
What? What is produce?
Just fucking beating the meat.
Produce?
The produce. I don't know, there's just something really sexy about like a fucking tomato, you know? Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, it was taking out the trash was fun. Same with cleaning the lobby. Because it'd be cleaning the lobby if the lobby's already closed. If you have to clean the lobby and the lobby's not closed, so there are people in the lobby, it fucking sucks.
They're just people like staring.
Well, not because of that. It's because like when you close the store, the lobby, everything has to be 100% clean, right?
Yeah.
And with the lobby, you have to clean it all completely, but it's like people are gonna use it, you know? It's already a pain having to clean the women's bathroom because people like fucking stare at you weird because it's like, what are you doing in here? I'm like, I'm not trying to fucking peep or anything. I'm cleaning the goddamn bathroom, okay? And when you have to go in and clean the bathroom and people are still in the lobby, not only is it awkward because people are like, oh, can I use the bathroom? And you're like, no, we're cleaning it. And also the lobby's supposed to close in like 5 minutes. But on top of that, you can't really sweep or mop or clean out tables because people are just gonna make it dirty again, and it's a pain. I mean, another thing is that you have to take the caps off of the soda fountain, the nozzles off, and when you take the nozzles off. And if you try using them, they just spray liquid everywhere. And one time, I'm like cleaning the lobby. I thought that the lobby was empty for a long while because I hadn't done the bathrooms yet. And so this fucking bum like walks out of the bathroom. He'd been in there for like a half hour or so, I guess. And he like wanted to get a drink or like a refill or whatever. And he like was about to use the fucking fountain. I'm like, no, you can't use that. You gotta go to the counter and ask him to refill because you're gonna get sprayed with liquid if you try doing it here. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he tries getting liquid from it again. I'm like, no, you can't. You gotta go to the front counter. You don't understand. Is he fucking high or something? So I'm working at the first window, right? No speaker, and I'm sitting there. I'm looking outside. We're by the beach. It's a nice day, right? And
Nice.
There's multiple cars in the drive-thru, right? Now the last one is this van, right? It's like a soccer mom car, right? So I take all the orders, and I take this guy's order in this soccer mom car. It's this guy, and the car isn't very clean. It's kind of dirty. Anyways, I take his order, and then he tries driving forward to, go to the next window, but he can only drive forward a little tiny bit because there's cars in front of him waiting. So
it's just
well, not inches, more like a couple feet.
okay.
But anyways, he stops there, and now what's in front of my window is the back of his car, and his trunk is open. And I see this, and so I stick my head out the window, and I shout up to him like, hey, dude, your trunk is open back here. So he gets out, and there's no cars behind him, by the way. He gets out, and he walks over, and he looks into his trunk, right? And there's like some garbage in there. It's not very clean. He looks into his trunk, he pauses for a moment, then he turns around looking down the drive-thru and just goes running down the drive-thru. And I'm like looking out the window to see if I can see him. I'm like, where the fuck did this guy go, right? And a minute later, he comes walking back down the drive-thru towards his car, right? And I call over to him, I'm like, hey, did you lose something? And he's like, yeah, I had a vacuum cleaner.
What about vacuum, man?
This guy just fucking driving down the highway with his trunk open, a fucking vacuum cleaner flying out. What the fuck? There was this other guy who was this bum who had this problem where he would just randomly shout. He'd just go, ah! just like randomly every like 30 seconds or even less sometimes, and he would just fucking mill around the store, and you would always know when he was nearby because you would hear off in the distance, ah! It was horrible because it was like my main manager literally had to tell him multiple times, hey, don't come to the store, like, you're scaring people, like, people are complaining that you're coming here, I'm sorry, but you can't come here. And people are like complaining, they're like, yeah, that homeless guy is like just walking around outside, he's like standing in the drive-thru, I think he's gonna get hit by a car. He's like shouting too. It's like,
Wow. So people would make. Did you ever get a prank call?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't answer the phone much because the managers usually answered the phone. Because oftentimes it would be people asking questions about like hours or whatever, or they would want to talk to a manager anyways. But yeah, they would get like calls from kids all the time. Manager would just like, he'd pick up and he'd go, you know, hello McDonald's, and then like a moment later he'd put down the phone. He's like, fucking kids, man. Like, I specifically remember my manager Sergio doing that. He's like, oh, fucking kids, man. They just keep calling. Or he'd go over, I'd be like, hey, phone's ringing, and he'd go over and look at the phone. He's like, oh, it's the damn kids again. I just wouldn't answer. I mean, oh, you wanna know what was really good? So, after I worked at McDonald's for, how long? 2 years, a year and a half. My younger brother started working with me at McDonald's. Now, my younger brother, he's blonde, I'm not. He has longer hair, however, we wear McDonald's hats. I guess he looks kind of like me, because we both take after our dads a lot. But anyways, so he would work at the first window and take orders and money, and then I would work at the second window and give food. And this threw so many people off. They'd look at me, I'd be like, hi, you know, here's a drink, and they'd look at me, they'd just stare at me. Then they look back behind them at the other window, then they look at me, they're like, wow, you got here fast! I'd be like, what? I'd be like, no, that's my brother back there, and they're like, oh, yeah! I'd be like, half the time I'd be like, man, I don't know if that guy actually believed me. Like, I think he thought it was a big joke. It's like, oh yeah, it's my brother back there.
You practice.
Oh, dude, one time. Okay, one time there were these guys who would come through the drive-thru late at night, and they would always get ice cream cones. And these guys were really anal about how well the cones were swirled. Okay. Now, swirling ice cream cones is not the easiest thing to do. Okay, but I mean, I still make some shitty ones from time to time after working there for so many years. Anyways, so my brother and I would sometimes swap spots because, like, let's say I'm getting stock because we're closing. It's really easy for me to be in the back there because I can get stock in between orders. So anyways, we're working, and these guys came through multiple times on different days, right? And so my brother Owen, he recounted to me what happened as we're driving home from work. He's like, so those guys that came through again, you know, the ones who like their ice cream cone made a really particular way, they told me, they're like, hey, so because apparently they did not believe that we were two people. They thought we were one person. So they're like, hey, you know, So you're getting better on making the cones, you know. So the first time we came through, it was really bad. The next time, it was really good. Then the next time, it was pretty bad again. And now it's getting pretty good. We're getting better though. They really think we're the same fucking person. They did not believe that we're two people. Oh. Man, some of the shitty customers. One time I had a guy claim that he was the president of Coca-Cola.
Oh my god.
He didn't say that he was the president of Coca-Cola to me either. He said it to the general manager of the entire store. Jeez, it was
Wow.
one time. Oh my gosh. This woman, she was over at, so people all the time, they wouldn't understand that we didn't have a speaker. They'd be like, hello, back like at the menu. They're like, hello. And sometimes they would just literally sit there because they thought that we had a speaker and just nobody had said hello yet to take their order. And so they would sit back there so long that I'd have to wave my arm out and say, hey, order up here, And so one time this lady comes up, right? After I had to, say, hey, order up here. And she's like, did you get the nuggets? I'm like, wait. We don't have a speaker.
Did you get the nuggets? Oh my god.
And I proceed to take her order. And I'm like, okay, anything else? And then she again says, did you get the nuggets? It's like, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
These stories are so stupid.
I know, it's so dumb. There's so much stupid shit happening at McDonald's, dude. So much stupid shit. Oh man.
Holy hell.
I had
Did you get the nuggets?
Did you get the nuggets?
No.
Dude, one of my fucking favorite coworkers was this short Hispanic guy named Felipe. Now, Felipe worked in the kitchen. I always worked on the register. Now, Felipe and I had all kinds of jokes. Like, we would have it where when we're closing, we would just, we would basically do, what's that called? Where we would basically do a cappella of various songs.
Oh, no.
One of which was the Pink Panther song. We'd just be like fucking sweeping and mopping, and we'd be like, dun 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 dun. Wow wow. And he would now Felipe. So he's this short Hispanic guy, and he had a mullet, okay? And one time I was working, and some like people around my age, so they're like 18. They're coming through the drive-thru. Now this was at a different restaurant, so we had changed location. So this one actually had a speaker. So I'm there at the window. And this one is actually close enough to the kitchen to where you can see the kitchen through the window. So I'm there, and I'm taking their money, and they see Felipe back behind me in the kitchen, and they're like, does that guy have a mullet? I'm like, yeah, and they're like, is he like a porn star or something? I'm like, I don't think so.
Why do you have all these stories?
Because I worked at McDonald's for 4 years.
Imagine a person with like 40 years of experience.
Dude, okay. My grandpa has told me a couple of really funny stories, okay? That I think are just so damn funny I gotta retell them. So one of them was he was at his house, and he had a company over, right? He had his neighbor's wife, and also like a business friend and his wife over, right? Mm-hmm. So they're over for dinner, and now back then, the Playboy magazine had released a special thing in one of their issues, which was this small little board game that you could just punch out of the magazine.
Wow.
And this board game was called Blacks and Whites. And this board game was intended to potentially like be an eye opener for what black people have to go through compared to white people, right? So now, my grandpa's white. I'm assuming all of his everyone that was over was also white. So anyways, they're playing. They go and they after dinner they're like, "Hey, you want to play a board game?" And they're like, "Okay, sure." And he's like, "Oh, here, let's play Blacks and Whites. You know, let's try this game, right?" So they go and they're playing Blacks and Whites for a little bit, and after a little bit, his neighbor, he slams his cards down. He throws his cards down on the table, right? And he says, "I've only been black for 10 minutes and I already hate you, white bastards!" This other fucking story from my grandpa is that he said that him and his business partner ended up renting out this office building for their own business, right? And they rent out this office building, and they're on the second floor in the business district, right? So one thing that they noticed was that right outside the window from their office was a down by the street. There was a payphone that was down there. Now, I don't know if you know this, but payphones actually have numbers. So they actually have numbers, and you can call them. So, and they'll just start ringing, and anyone can pick it up. So they ended up going down there, and they got the number for that payphone. So they would play this prank on people during the slow hours of business. They would look out the window down there at the payphone, and when somebody would be walking by, they would call the payphone. And people would, see it ring, they'd pick it up, and they'd say, "Hello? We'll be there in 2 minutes with the money for you. Don't fuck this up." And then they just hang up. Like, it's a fucking robbery. Like, they're just gonna throw out a duffel bag of money. And people would freak the fuck out. Oh.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go,
The Force is strong in this one.
Luke. Trust me.
His computer's off. Luke, you switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm all right.